Pussy Riot and the shelves in the center of the room are standing. The walls glow white, in the way gallery walls do. Pussy Riot considers the whiteness, looking away from their own. They forget the fairy tale Scottish city outside. The edges of the scene blur in polite whispers. Pussy Riot fidgets. 2 hands massage 2 tired necks, 4 boots rock back and forth, and 1 throat hums a quiet but anxious tune. They stare, read, walk around the shelves to see from the other side. Ask their feelings if something is happening. The contents of the shelves probably aren't asking themselves anything, probably don't see and haven't heard of Pussy Riot, though at least one of them would be labeled Russia, if they had labels. On each shelf sit clear glass jars of many shapes and sizes, filled with water of varying quantities, clarity, color, and consistency. Pussy Riot imagines Russia as the bottles with less shine. The water was sent to the artist from seas all over the world. Sadly, thinks one Pussy Riot brain, none of the jars say what people who sent the water think about sending water to an artist, or whether the water is polluted or precious, or the senders rich or poor. None of their names or original containers grace the 24 shelves. The word universal burrows uncomfortably into one of Pussy Riot's ears. Another Pussy Riot brain wonders if the artist is honoring people's stories and collectivity, or just arranging jars neatly on a shelf, then taking the money to buy a house or an aga, and using the fame to get more shows. The third Pussy Riot brain is not actually there, but lingers in Pussy Riot's memory like a stubborn ghost projecting itself from Moscow. This brain thinks of the power of containment, of turning communal stories into solo art, and ultimately, of the sea. Waves that crash and beaches that receive and glaciers that melt and pristine brass taps and bidets and bathtubs and non-flushing toilets and rain barrels and puddles and cucumber water and sparkling or still and plastic bottles and Pepsi stealing groundwater then selling it back to people and contaminated water on indigenous land and disabled people dragged to Lourdes and boats. Boats full of people playing cards while drinking gin and boats full of people starving while hoping for a new life. And sweat and tears and dengue and malaria and fish and whale music and those creatures with hideous jaws that glow in the deepest dark and turtles and storms and umbrellas too and levees that break or aren't built right and true communism and communion blessed. What are those things in the church called where people dip their hands seeking purity? Pussy Riot needs to sit down. They have sore feet, sore hearts if they're honest. All water is not the same. The water that is 45 to 75% of Pussy Riot is different from the water that is 45 to 75% of an Orthodox Russian or a black survivor of Hurricane Katrina. It has a different source and a different journey, though its chemical makeup is roughly equal. Water is not water. Pussy Riot doesn't sit down. There is no bench. So they waver, 2 torsos swaying forward and back, their obvious distress interfering with the symmetry as much as a bench would have. They try to focus on a line of bottles. Remember, one stomach growls. During the hunger strike, some parts of Pussy Riot received more water than others. They were many back then, and only some were jailed. They were varied in freedom, tactics, clarity and color, but never consistency. That happened slowly, with judges and fame. Many became 3, then 2. Hunger came, but it also left. Pussy Riot thinks of their children and of the children they do not have. They think of the strangeness of attending a music festival in a field of drunk English people who paid money to wade through dirt turned to mud by rain. Of how in the winter the same clouds of water that pass over these islands might travel to a distant Siberian prison and fall as snow onto their sisters who didn't get out, or onto Moscow and the parts of them that never went in, or gave in. Pussy Riot remembers the cold of the camp. They know most people don't think of the women there, or of the parts of Pussy Riot left behind, or of how water is rarely still and unchanging. Most people like the masks and the notion that Russia is a worse place than here. Anger wells in two stomachs, sadness in another far away. Pussy Riot suddenly can't be sure they are water at all. Whiteness and white money released them from jail and paid for their plane tickets and means 2 parts of them can buy a house and an aga now too. Soon, after typing a book, 10 of their fingers will caress a fascist lover. But even that won't slow the invitations and sales. Maybe they are the jar now, or the shelf, or the bottler, or the gallery. Pussy Riot closes their eyes. All 22 of them. 4 legs walk back out into the Edinburgh rain. 2 tongues reach into the air, taste cold freedom.